Hi guys, so I'm going to be talking about the book Insects by Seymour Simon, and it's actually an Outstanding Science Trade Book award winner from the National Science Teachers Association for the year 2017. And so Seymour Simon's actually a pretty good, it's actually a pretty known author. He's written a lot of other children's books too. But so the book the book starts off by clearly defining the word insect, and there are lots of different interpretations that we take. For example, we classify all bugs as insects, and that's not true. And he goes into detail about explaining why that's not true and how all insects have different groups and categorizes them. So it uses a very detailed choice of words, and it also has a glossary in the back and an index. So the nonfiction text features definitely help any reader at any different reading level. So it kind of goes into talking about the it defines an invertebrate, which is an animal that does not have a backbone. So that's many insects, and it goes into detail about talking about the body parts of an insect. So each invertebrate has 6 legs, 2 antennae, and a body with 3 sections, that sort of thing. So it kind of maps out well for the reader what an insect exactly is after defining it. It then goes on to talk about what the insect goes through, such as metamorphosis. That's a very important part of an insect's life. And so it kind of goes into detail about that, and it explains the different insects that go through this change, and it kind of uses a comparison to little kittens. Kittens as their babies look the same, but when they grow up they look the same as well. But insects go through different stages, such as the egg, larva, and pupa in the adult stage, and they completely look different at the end sometimes. So it kind of takes a historical view on the book, because it goes back and talks about how insects may have looked in the past. It's actually a cool fact that they may have looked like as big as eagles in the past. So I think that definitely catches the reader's attention. The book also emphasizes the relevance to the reader. So it makes lots of comparisons to the reader. For example, it goes on to describe the insect's 5 senses. The insect, believe it or not, the sight sense is less significant to them rather than the other 5 senses. So the book definitely uses a lot of text to self. I don't know if I use that in the right context, but the book definitely tries to take the reader's approach and tries to compare it to the reader. And so the book also lists the characteristics that set each insect apart. So it talks about insects as a whole, defines insects, but then it also lists each characteristics of an insect. And it goes back into talking about the insect's orders, such as the Coleopetra, the Odonata, and the Dipetra. So this is especially interesting to the reader because it's not frequent to read about, those big names about insects. You kind of just, like he said in the beginning, classify them as bugs, all of them as bugs. So the book definitely talks about the life cycle of an insect and the makeup of the body, the structure of the body of an insect, and what sets each insect apart from the other. And some are actually similar to each other. The book also describes influential ways that insects help us. Sometimes people categorize them as, they just need to be away from me. For example, that's the type of person I am. But insects are actually very beneficial to us in our Earth's atmosphere. And it actually goes to say that if we didn't have insects, the world would cease to exist. So definitely gives a lot of insight on the insects, but also their role in our Earth and their role to us. Why I would use this book in my classroom, I think it definitely gives a more detailed approach to students, and it kind of gives everything more in detail, and it helps the students relate it to themselves. There are 3 activities that you could do for the before. You would use first lines, and you would go through and read the first lines of the book and try to predict what it might be about. And during that reading, you can question the author. So this helps the readers, criticize or critique authors' writing, and also generate questions while they're at it for the book. And this also helps with a bit with comprehension, because they're kind of repeating the information and putting it into their own words. And for the after activity, they can do exit slips. So before leaving, they can answer questions they've learned about a new concept. Bugs aren't really a new concept, but they definitely learned a lot of different details about them. So they get to answer questions about how they're beneficial to us, and what they learned and what they hope to learn. And if they could turn into any invertebrate for a day, which one would you choose? So I definitely think that this is a book I would keep in my classroom, just for the sole purpose of information. Lots and lots of information. It's very helpful.